right then, let's see. Far enough away? Yeah. All right, so I wanted to do some standing work today, but I think first we should sit on the chair and actually massage the feet, right? Because if we're doing some balance work, one of the first things you want to be sure is that your both feet feel like they're pliable and open and awake. Yeah. So you can have a seat. And we're just going to pull one foot up. And we're going to start just like tapping the foot with your hands. You can get to the sides, get to the top and the bottom. Pick it up, it may feel a little frozen. All right. And then to twist the foot. So wringing out the foot as if it was a washcloth. So you'll take your thumb away from your hand and take the same side hand as your leg. So this is my right leg, so I'm taking my right hand to the heel. The thumb is on top and the rest of the hand wraps around. So the heel is sitting into the palm of my right hand. And then the left hand is going on the right foot with the thumb across the metatarsal, the big ball of the foot there. And the fingers wrap around towards the other side. And then we're going to twist the foot, wring it out, you're wringing out a wet bathing suit. This is really good for the arches of your feet. And so the heel actually has a little bit of a swing, like it can sort of spiral up and spiral down. So a little twist there. And so the action is this, kind of like bringing out the washcloth. And just say you've got more flexibility in your feet than you would expect. You know, they're designed to be really pliable and adapt to terrain, which, you know, unfortunately, we put them in shoes and walk mainly on hard, flat surfaces. Easier for us, not as interesting for the feet, so they tend to fall asleep. But here we're going to not only work through the joints and the muscles, but we're also going to activate the proprioceptors in the feet so that your feet will be more aware of where they are in space when you're standing on one leg. Give them a little challenge today. All right, and then we can sit back a little further on the chair. And now we're going to spread the toes open. So you'll take your thumbs and the heel of your thumb on the top and your fingers underneath. And we're going to pull the toes apart and push down with the thumb and the heel of the thumb into the top. And imagine like a peacock fanning its tail open, or imagine you were just dealt a hand of cards and you're flipping it open to see what your cards look like. Right, so the toes move away from the center toe. You could also pull on each of these toes, give them a little wiggle. And then we're working up the sole of the foot. So you're taking your forefingers into the plantar fascia, the bottom of the foot. The heel of the thumb and the thumb are going to come along the top of the foot and pull it open and press into it. So you're really digging in with the fingers into the bottom of the foot, but you're smoothing and pulling apart the top of the foot with your thumbs. And you can work that all the way up to your heel. And you might feel some spots that are tight. You can dig into and like do little circles with your nails or your fingertips. All right, now we're briefly going to take off that sock and shake hands with your foot. So the foot is across, maybe have the heel and the ankle resting on the other knee. And now you'll take your opposite hand, so right foot, left hand, and you slide your fingers and start at the pinky toe and work up so your thumb is still on top of the big toe. So your head goes from underneath, so the palm of your hand touches the sole of the foot. And then you're going to slide your fingers between your toes. It may not be easy at first. right? And then you'll roll the wrist. So you have this wave-like action through the foot. But this is crazy.
It's also just a little too much.
And so this loosens up the whole forefoot. It also, this work will also change sort of the texture of your skin. So if it wasn't so cold, I would have you take off the other sock and then compare. But usually what happens is this foot will look about 10 years younger and it'll be smooth. Like if you have veins showing, they'll sort of disappear. The other foot will come out looking, no matter how much lotion you put on it this morning, right? It's going to come out looking kind of rough and unhappy. This foot now is like being rejuvenated with the touch of the movement. If you're curious, you can take off the other sock and check for sure. But all right, so now release that down and then just come up to stand on your 2 feet and feel the difference. And maybe you notice a difference like all the way up the leg into your low back. So does it feel like your foot is maybe flatter and like you're more grounded on that side? Go ahead and lift up the other leg. And then lower down and then try standing on the foot we didn't work. And see how like the ankle's more trembling and it's a little unsure, the foot's not quite sure where it's grounded. Even if you've done this for a long time, like it may look okay, but it feels less stable. Like I feel my ankle sort of pulsing a little bit as it tries to find the talus and center itself on that bone. All right, so then we're coming down and switch feet. Oh, well, here, since we're switching sides anyway, you can check out the texture and appearance of your feet. See what I'm saying? I know, and it would have been even more different if we had done it immediately after we took our hands away from the foot. So, sock back on the first foot we worked. And we'll start here with wringing out the foot. So we're going to take the same side hand, right, as your leg goes on your heel. So the thumb is on top and the heel rests in the palm of your hand, that little cup there. And then the opposite hand, the contralateral hand, you wrap your hand into the ball of the foot so the thumb goes across the top of the foot and the forefingers are coming up around the pinky toe and into the 5th metatarsal. And then you want to be sort of on the ankle or right above it so that the foot is free to twist. So you're going to wring it out. Be sure you get that heel to move a little bit. It draws a little semicircle in space here. Stretching the tissue. So I like to remind myself that each foot has a quarter of the bones in the body in each foot. So there's a lot of joints, there's a lot of muscles, there's a lot of tendons, there's thousands of proprioceptors in the sole of your foot to be aware of the ground and what foot is in connection with. So all of that, we're trying to bring it back up to speed, right? Now you've been asleep all day, now wake up, we're going to do some standing one-legged balances. All right, and then I think today we went to this one here next. So you sit back a little further on the chair, just don't fall off of it. And you can pull the toes apart and wiggle them. You could also pull each toe at the end of the toe forward to get a little tug into the foot. You could actually spend like an endless amount of time doing this if you've had an endless amount of time, working through every single joint, like flexing, extending, doing little circles manually at every joint here in your toes. But this is the faster version. So then we're going to spread the toes apart. pull them open. And you're pressing up with the fingers from underneath, 4 fingers here. Start to move into the metatarsals, and the heel of the thumbs comes across the front of the foot, pulling that apart nice and wide. And working up into the heel. You go up and down a few times, see where your foot needs a little extra help. Maybe you're not used to wearing boots all the time. Or your feet are tense from trying to walk on ice, whatever it is. Or they're just cold. So, yeah. All of those things will have an effect on them. And then we're going to take that foot. This is my left one, so I'm taking my right hand and sliding the fingers between the toes. I think the first time I tried to do it, it was really hard to get the toes to move apart because, high heels, pointed toes. I spent a lot of time wearing those in earlier years, right? And so the toes like narrow in and they don't spread open as easily. Just depends, on how you treat your feet, really, as to how easy this is going to be to get your fingers through. And then once we have that, your heel and the ankle are sort of resting on the other leg, and you spiral the wrist of the hand that's like sliding in between your toes, shaking hands with your foot. And then we can slide the fingers out, lower the foot down. See, doesn't it look more beautiful? It does, right? And also happier, right? So come up to standing. And then now we'll see this foot again. It's like flattened a little bit, like it's relaxed a bit. So there's more connection to the ground. It's also more aware of the connection into the floor. So then we can pull the other leg up. And compared to last time we stood on it, pre-massage, can you feel that it's more stable? It's not as wobbly. It's like you're more comfortable standing on it. Now that's your comfort standing on it. It's going to depend on like how comfortable you are standing on one foot. But if you felt a difference, that's good. You know that this like helped your foot, help both feet. So we'll put the socks on again. Yep. Give it one last admiring blaze. All right. And then we can also come up to stand on our roller behind the chair. So a little bit of this in the front standing at the wall. This also works. If you're at home doing this, it's also super safe to do it inside a door frame. So like if my door was this way, I would have the roller facing this, so I can hold onto the wall on either side of the door opening, right, to do that. This isn't bad because you can grab your hand around it. So we're going to come up and just stand on the arches of the feet, try to stand tall, and then have a little bit of heel lowering to stretch out your calves, and a little bit of toes coming forward. Not so much that you're going to push the roller away from you and fall onto the tips of your toes, but just enough that you feel a nice release and massage into the arches of your feet. Really try to stand as tall as you can, because that'll make your balance better. Sometimes the rollers, this is a little softer roller, so it gets a little more squashed. So then you may want to move to a different part of it or turn the roller over. If you feel like one foot is tighter than the other, maybe put more weight into that leg. Or at a certain point, even you could, if you feel balanced, you could pick up the other foot, and really let the weight of your body go through one leg to have a deeper tissue massage into the arch of that foot, standing on the roller. Only do what you're comfortable with, right? And then we could also take the other foot off. And that's a good idea too. If you put your foot behind the roller, it would act as sort of a little brake. Give you just a bit more stability too. All right, so shift your weight a little bit side to side, wag your tail. And then we can step off. And now the feet should feel like pretty happy, lively, awake, aware. All right, so we're going to use the chair as the base for our ballet stretches today. This is part of the Pilates repertoire. And Pilates had a long history of working with dancers. And so this got incorporated into our workouts. Now, if you feel like you want a little higher surface, you could always add a yoga block or two to the chair seat. It depends, on height, on flexibility today, all of those things. But you could certainly just have your legs on the chair, put on the chair. And it feels a little easier in the hips if you have it in the slight external rotation. Now, also, if you're not sure about balance, taking your roller to the side where you have the lifted leg can be assisted because it just gives you something to hold lightly onto. Or definitely, if you're unsure, you can go near the wall or the podium here in this room, so you have something that you're more comfortable with. Okay, so the leg comes up and a bit of external rotation. And I like the standing leg also slightly externally rotated. It gives a little wider base of support. So here, we'll bring the arms forward and then look down, start a roll down, bringing your hands down. And getting a stretch into the back of your legs, your low back. And then we lightly press through the heel to come on up. If you want, you could add arms up and lift your chest, lift your eyes to a little upper back extension. And forward and over again. So dive over and down. I'm finding this a little bit more challenging on the padded seat because it's not quite stable for the yoga block. So, okay, so that's making that move a little bit. We'll see how we do. And carry on up. Imagine holding a ball between your arms. Lift the eyes, lift the chest. And over again, one more time. Press down into both feet as you lift. And then you can come center, lower the arms and lower the leg. Good job. So another thing to remember when you're doing this balance work is that when you pick up one leg, there'll be a tendency for a lot of us to elevate the hip on that side to get the leg up higher. So as soon as you do that, you're falling to the side of your standing leg. So once you get the leg up and onto the chair, right, whichever height it is, you may want to think of pulling the hip down by wagging your tail to the standing leg. So like if I picked up my leg and I lifted the hip, my hands would be at two different heights. So I would want to lower the hip bone on the side of the lifted leg. And this is really common. So that if I'm like this with the hip elevated, I'm feeling a lot of pressure and tension into the outside of my standing leg. And my foot is trying to roll a little bit laterally. And I'm also probably leaning this way, right? And trying to catch my balance. So in order to balance yourself so that you're finding work on the inside of the standing leg as well as the outside of the standing leg, you can, I think of like dropping my tail and swinging it towards my standing leg. So if I was a dog, I'd be wagging my tail only in one direction to get the two pelvic calves level. And then it's going to be a lot easier to balance on your standing foot because you're putting weight equally across of it and not on the lateral edge. So hopefully that helps. You can even do that, just practice like with the knee bent. It's not as much load, so you can practice that. Yeah, so can you take your right hand to the roller, your left leg is lifted, and then take your left hand onto the left hip, push down. Yeah, but keep the chest and the shoulders up, right? Can you feel that you can feel the pelvis is like swinging a little bit that way? Good. So that way now your hips are level and you should feel it's a little easier to get the weight through your standing foot. Perfect. All right. So here we go, second leg. You guys are already ahead of me, so we'll take this up. And arms forward and then dive over. So look to the inside of your leg. So your nose stays aligned with your sternum, your navel, the pubic symphysis, the center of your body, and then coming up. A little bit of a lifted chest, shoulders slide towards your tail, and over again. Now, obviously, we're getting a lot of core work here as we try to stabilize the center of our body, like the muscles, particularly really the small ones close to the spine. But you're pretty much going to feel everything working when you do balance practices. And over again, then forward down. If it's too much strain on the back of your knee, you would bend the knee slightly. We're really looking for the stretch in the belly of the hamstring, just like when we do roll up on the mat. Come up. And then you can bring the arms down and lower the leg. Okay, so next, let's do a piriformis stretch. We can do this with sitting on the chair. All right, so you can slide one leg forward and then pull the other knee up and in towards your chest. Now we want to rotate the lifted leg externally. So we're going to not just pull the foot across the body and torque out the knee, but we're literally going to rotate the angle at the hip socket to pull the knee out to the side and bring the foot up so that flex the foot at the ankle and rest the edge of your foot on your lower thigh. If you're tight, I'm tight in this range of movement, you can keep the leg extended forward. If you feel like you can bring the knee up to bring this higher, that's great too. And maybe different on the two legs. So from here, you want to be sure that you are sitting equal weight on your two sits bones. Because a lot of times when people do a piriformis stretch, like laying on their back, what happens is they push this down and lean. Right, so then you feel you have more weight on this side of the sits bone, and this hip is elevated a little bit, this one is dropped. But we want to keep the pelvis level to get the work into the piriformis diagonally. It's a diagonal muscle that runs from your sacrum to the lateral upper leg. And we can then press into the leg, not on the knee itself, never on the side of the joint, but you can lay your arm across the shin and the thigh or your hand, and push that a little bit down. And maybe think of it like coaxing this upper leg, the femur, to rotate a little bit more externally. You feel it? So a little bit of extra weight here can help you. It might be a little tender. Don't push it to a place where, totally don't push it to a place where you feel like you're torquing at the knee or the foot and ankle. That's why having this foot flexed gives it more of a locked position. And now you sit up really tall. Now, maybe for some people who are super flexible here, this is not enough of a stretch. So what you will do is you're going to lift up through your halo, elongate the waist, and then lift your tail up the wall behind you. So we're rotating the pelvis in an anterior tilt. The tail and the sits bones go up behind you. And now you're going to feel a much bigger stretch in that piriformis muscle specifically, right under the glute. So if you take your hands like in a triangle to the sacrum and behind you, right, the lower part of the spine, and then you were like halfway down it, that the piriformis would start halfway down on the inside, And it would come diagonally down and you'll feel it connect into like this little, the greater trochanter. It's a little bony bump here near the top of your femur. But you can feel that, right? As you go forward, you can feel where that stretch is. So wherever you are, whether you're upright, whether the leg is extended, just find the stretch that works for you. Once you go forward in the plank, you can also add an upper back extension if you want to stretch out your spine. But I wouldn't start by rounding and curling because as soon as you pull the tail and the sits bones forward, you come out of that piriformis stretch. So lengthen, 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 tip forward, lean into it, and now rock the knees a little bit side to side. And that way you're going to increase the stretch you feel in this lateral hip, glute and piriformis deep underneath it. That's good, you all feel it? And you're not killing yourself, right? So be kind. Go to a stretch that feels like reasonable for you, where you're like, oh yeah, I feel something happening. You know the difference between stretching in a way that you're like, ooh, wow, I really needed that. And like, oh, that feels like it's going to tear something. So be on the right side of that spectrum. And then come upright. Now to come out of it, again, watch your knee. Right, so you're going to rotate the whole leg. So you rotate it from the socket, you're going to rotate from the edge of the foot onto the sole of the foot, and then lower that down. Okay, and now just sit upright and feel the difference in the two sides of your pelvis. It feels a little bit like smoother and longer, I would say, on the side that I just worked. Yeah, and maybe you feel like you're sitting a little deeper into the chair seat on that side. So whenever we're doing any kind of stretches or any kind of movement, it's great to take a moment to go like, what happened, what changed? It keeps us motivated and it also helps the nervous system teach the body about better movement habits. All right, so again, other side now. So you have to balance this out. Pull one knee up into your chest. The other leg can either start with a bent knee or extend the leg forward. I know this is my tighter side, so I'm going to extend my leg. You can probably keep it there. So then we rotate the leg at the hip socket to pull the knee out to the side, flex the foot to rest it on the thigh right above the knee, and try to lift up and have equal weight on the two sits bones. Yeah, so if you sit closer to the front edge, the leg will go down a little lower. Or take the foot down lower and go to the place where it works for you. Got it. Because knees have had different life experiences, right? So what works for one side is maybe not going to work for the other side. So just go where you need to be, lift up, and then if you want to go further, lift the tail up the wall behind you, right? So we're rotating the pelvis, so the hip bone crest moves forward, the tail of the sits bones move up and back. The sits bones are opening, so the back of the pelvic floor is expanding a bit. And after doing this like plank feeling, you could do an upright curl, rolling the head, rolling the shoulders forward and down to get a little stretch in the upper back. And also remember, we can take the forearm and take it diagonally across the leg, not right on the knee, but below it, more on the inside. And then if you wish, you can rock the knees a little side to side. And then we can come upright with the spine. Pull the knee up slowly, rotating at the femur head by the pelvic girdle. Pull the knee in. And then lower the foot down. Right. And now the two hips should feel more similar. So we're coming up again. All right. Now we're going to go into a bit of a lunge. So sit back in external rotation. And bring one foot up onto the chair seat. You also use a table, a countertop, whatever you have that seems to be the right height for you. And then lean forward, aligning up your knee with the center of the ankle, the center of the foot. And as you come forward with your body on a diagonal, you want to keep your back heel pressing down. You can also bring your hands to the chair back, to the seat of the chair, whatever works for you. Good. Calf stretch, hip opening. If you have your hands like either on the chair back or on your leg, you might be able to go forward, push your glutes, push the hips forward, lift the chest, look up, and maybe you'll get a little bit more opening here across the front of your hip from the back leg. And then we're going to push back to come upright. And just do that one more time. So lunge in, ankle flexion, heels are down, so you get a stretch in the back calf. Maybe chest goes up, push this hip forward, use your glute. And then push back to vertical. Good. Switch legs, shake them out, wag your tail, tense a little bit here. All right, wonderful. Now, other foot. So again, legs in turn out. You can also do this in parallel. I tend to not go into turn out much, so I tend to do that. If you're a ballet dancer who is always in turn out, do it in parallel. It's really helpful to change things up in our bodies. So we're going to come forward into the lunge. Of course, if you're doing this with a chair, you could also have the chair near a wall so you could hold on to something. Or remember, you still have the option of, like, if you're at least using the roller is not completely stable, but it's surprisingly helpful. But if you really need help, go to a wall. And it's super important to always have the knee aligned, right? So that you're feeling comfortable in the knee joint as you lean in. And then we can come back. Is that just the first one on the side? No. So we'll go for one more. Lunge in. As you put weight into this front foot, the whole foot actually is flattening and spreading, right? So your arch gets a little flatter when you put more weight into a leg, to the foot. And then you'll probably feel it as you come back. See if you can feel the arch lifting a little bit as you take some weight off that foot. And then bring your foot down. The design of the foot allows us to flatten the foot as we land. The foot will flatten like a spring, and then it will buoyantly lift you up as you jump off or take the next step. So, okay, so here, let's do a little bit to the side. So we're going to step back a little bit behind this, so the chair will be to one side, and you're going to turn out here with your legs, and then bring the leg up onto the chair in external rotation and out to the side. Take the roll to the other side, just so you have it if you want it. Yep. And then we'll take one arm, the outside arm up and the inside arm in. So making like you're holding a roller here between your hands. And then we can side bend over and lightly press the forearm into the leg to help you drop this hip down and give yourself a little extra stretch in the upper inner thigh. You can push down with that arm and down with the heel to come upright. And then we're switching the arms. Again, hold that roller here between your hands. And then tip your head, side bend your neck, move through the rib cage, move through your waist, all that without letting this hip lift on this hip side that's by the chair. Because I don't want to go over like this and get too compressed in this standing leg hip. But I want to keep this down so I'm still feeling the inner thigh stretch. And then come upright, and we change again. And the stretch should be right on your side seam. If you feel it more in the back, you're probably leaning forward. If you feel it more in the belly, you're probably leaning back. And like if you're tight in those places, that might be a good place to also try to stretch. We're three-dimensional, you may want to change it. Traditionally, classically, it's right on your side seam. And then come up to the other side. Now, meanwhile, while we're doing this whole series, we're strengthening the lateral leg, the lateral glute here, glute medius in particular, on your standing leg. It's a really important muscle. It helps us keep the pelvic halves organized for walking, in particular, standing as well. Upright and lower, and then we can go to the other side. You can turn around. I'm going to move the chair, so I'm still facing you all. Okay. And yeah, maybe in between, notice the difference in the two hips. Right, so externally rotating the legs. Let's bring this out on the diagonal. So you can get to a place where you feel a stretch through the upper inner thigh, and you might check that your hands on your hips, the hips are level. And then we'll bring the hands up, outside arm up, inside arm down, and side bend towards the chair wall. Upright, and to the other side. Here, and where we go. The head lifts up, the rest of the spine flows, follows it, and go over again. Zip it up from the bottom to the top. And that's even, right? So, all right, we're going to switch to the other side and do a lunge here. So you stand still a little bit behind your chair, it's in front and to the side, and take the leg up on a diagonal for your lunge. So here you have to line up the angle of your knee, the angle of your foot, and you're going to pull the knee towards the toes, but at the same time push the hips and chest forward while you push the arm into the leg to push it back. So that you're feeling the stretch across the upper inner thigh and across the front of the pelvic girdle. The body's tipped forward a bit. And then we can release out of it. And do that again. And obviously all of these stretches you could do more reps of, and if you have a tighter side, work the tighter side for a longer amount of time, either more reps on that side, or for example, right, left, or left, right, left, depending. And then we can ease back, lower, shift your weight side to side, then be still, and feel the difference in the two hips, the two legs again. as we go through this whole series, you'll feel incremental change, right to left, left to right. And it's giving us information about where we're tight, maybe reminding us to look at our normal patterns to see if we're as balanced as we can be throughout the day. Then here, angle, the thigh angle is the same as the foot angle. We're going to sort of lean forward a little bit, but also, so not only the knees going forward with the toes, but you're leaning forward with your torso from your back heel. And then you're using that arm to push the knees slightly wider to get, again, a stretch that's gentle but effective through the upper inner thigh. Ease out of it. And then we're going into it again. Okay, and back again. Lower the foot down. You shake out your legs, shake out your hips. And then stand again here. Yeah. Feels like someone else's legs are now attached to our body. We're doing one more thing here. There's a few more in the series, but this is sort of a nice basic assortment. So we're doing a quad stretch next. So you hold on to the back of your chair, stand in slight turnout or parallel, again, you can decide. But then we're gonna pick up one knee, pick up the foot, reach behind you and drop the knee down towards the ground. If you needed a longer arm, you could use like a yoga strap. The TheraBand's arm is good because they're very stretchy. But if you had a yoga strap and made a loop to go around your foot, then the leg could be even lower and you could still be holding it. And you can hold it either with the same side or with the other loop. Like you might be holding the strap in one hand on the other side. So you can hold on to something with the hand on the lifted leg side. So we're trying to just drop the knee as straight to the floor as we can. We'll stay vertical. Try to push it back a little bit if you can here too. And for a little extra stretch, upper back extension, we really stretch out that psoas, that deep hip flexor muscle. Now from here, we slowly wag the knee from side to side. Very gentle, very slow, very small movement. So you're not just stretching the center quad. There's two. There's a superficial one and a deeper one. Then you have one that's medial to that on the inside of the leg and lateral to that on the outside of the leg. So as you let your knee swing, the very old dog wagging its tail, you're just going to feel that stretch across the whole quad. So you're not just working one line of the muscle. And then release that down. And then we'll go for the other side. So you pick the knee up to reach over your foot, of your ankle, whatever you can reach, and then try to push the knee down to the floor. Let it drop. If you had a mirror where you could see, you'd want to check to see if those hips were level here. But you can also just think, if the knees are in the same plane, you're probably doing really well. And then after you give the center of the quad a chance to open up and stretch a little bit, do the small wags of the knee towards the other leg, then away. And then we'll release them down. Right. Take a moment to take a little walk and just see how the whole leg cheek feels now. Any comments, thoughts on this?
Like I work my calves.
Right, they get tight from sitting. If you have a job where you're sitting, which I know you do, right? That tightens up. It's not just the hamstrings that get tight, it's also the calves. And also they're working like to help the stability through the ankle, right, for balance. What did you notice?
Like the hips are like more open.
You feel more open? Nice, like more relaxed through the joints? Yeah.
Walk, I feel like my hips.
Nice. I know, that's fantastic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you unlock some of these joints, particularly the joints in the feet and the hips, you really get more mobility in the whole structure. Like you can have a little bit of sway in it, which is great, because then you're releasing tension around your SI joints throughout the spine, up also into the neck. So good. So we're just going to put the chair aside for right now. And I want to use the ball, preview with the sacrum and the SI joints. We're going to take the ball under our sacrum to do a little bit of balance work for core. Not that you weren't using core to hold your balance standing, but this will give you release into that low back area. So we're going to have a seat on your mat. And then lay down onto your back, and we'll bridge up to take the roller, or not the roller, the ball right under our sacrum. You want to try to center yourself on it, of course. And also don't have it too high or too low. You have to kind of figure out where the sacrum is so that you're comfortable laying on it. When you pull first one knee into the chest, then the other. So the ball wants, of course, to roll and throw you off. So this is going to give you more work into your deep core as we extend the legs up to the ceiling. And then actually rotate the legs, taking both legs apart sideways, equidistant from center. And then exhale, close. You can do a lot of the same things we do with the roller under our hips here. The ball is even more precarious because you have to watch that it will roll in any direction, whereas the roller just rolls in one line of movement. So apart. And then close. And if it's getting too easy for you, right? Remember, we can take less connection to the floor through the arms. So if your elbows are down, your palms are down, your fingers are down, that's pretty easy. If you lift the elbows and just have the palms and the fingers to the floor, that's going to be a bit more challenging. If you go just to your fingertips, that's going to be even more challenging. I don't even know if I can do this, but let's say. So try your elbows down, your forearms and your fingers up. I don't know. So maybe one arm up in the air. So that the shoulder blade acts as the arm. Then switch, try the other arm up in the air, just the elbow one side down. Open. And close. Both arms up. Much more difficult, right? Move is going to be smaller, most likely initially. Close it together. But just play a little bit. See what you can do, where you can go. Excellent. And then from here, let's take the arms down long at your side and start with the frog. So heels together, toes apart, knees apart, the width of your shoulders. Push the legs up and out The angle will be a little higher than it would be on the roller or on the ground. Yeah, because the back is not fully supported and the support is unstable. So don't go too low. Go to a place where you feel the abs really working, but not the back arching. You could try, changing with the elbows, just fingers down or palms of fingers down. You know the routine. So the less connection you have for your arms to the ground, the more difficult it's going to be to stabilize with your hips up on the ball. So you push the heels away, squeeze the legs towards each other, drag the heels in, push them into each other, and pull the heel connection towards your tailbone. Do one more like that. And frog in. Now parallel legs, knees sort of over the rib cage, maybe over the chest, and push the legs up and out, stretch, and bring them back in. There's still like an arched foot, soft point. So you can go high if you're more interested in stretching the hamstrings, right? And do that, or you can go out on the diagonal to get more work into the abdominal wall. And your angle is your angle. Figure out what works for your core, what works for your balance, what works for your body. Do just one more like this, whatever you choose. And come back in. Now flex the feet and push out and away with the heels. And pull it back home. Keep the heels reaching forward, the toes pulling back towards your shins while you pump the legs into space and back again. You could even try just maybe a couple of fingers or a thumb and a finger. You want to work a little harder here for your balance. Legs stay glued together as much as possible. And a light press from the right leg to the left and back again. Right, and then legs straight up in the air. Pull it back enough that you feel the hamstring stretch and roll through your feet. Ball the foot, then the toes, point, pull the toes back, Barbie doll foot, high heel shoe foot, and then lift the heels. So heel, ball, toes, unwind, and then curl back in. And even maybe try that, can you go hands free? And then hands to the ground and pull the knees in. Let's lower the leg down. All right, lift your hips. We'll take just a moment, lower the hips down, stretch out your legs. Show how they want to rotate externally. They're showing that the whole chain is very relaxed and open. So that's going to be our session for today. I hope it was fun and you feel better, and also that maybe you got some new ideas for how to exercise. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow, hopefully. And if not, the sooner the better. All right. Everyone take care. Have a great day.